Hi all, it's
Hi.
Karen and
Pluto.
here for Karen and Bluto's Not Another Review channel.
I like this movie we're going to do.
So as we seem to be doing a lot of horror movies on here, but that's what we
Yeah.
watch a lot of.
I love horror.
We're going to continue on with one we've already reviewed with the next one in the series.
Ta-da.
Friday the 13th Part 2.
Awesome.
So this is a DVD widescreen collection, Paramount. This movie came out in 1981. It is 86 minutes long and obviously rated R.
Well, you never know nowadays.
Yeah, this is true. So, picking up where we left off at the end of the first Friday the 13th. Basically, we pick up with a little girl playing in rain puddles.
I guess it's a girl.
Yeah, I shouldn't have even said that because we were always debating, is it a girl or a boy?
Maybe that's what they want you to think.
So, it's a child.
Yep, I'll give you that much.
Kind of walking, singing Itsy Bitsy Spider, playing in rain puddles until he or she gets called into the house by their mother. And she's like, "Oh, Mom," and leaves, and then
poo.
stomps in the puddle, walks away, and all of a sudden there's another foot that stomps in the puddle. Who could it be? So we cut away to Alice, even though I put Annie on my notes and I knew it was Alice. Annie's sleeping and kind of having a dream, basically rehashing the end of the first.
No, it is Alice, not Annie.
No, I wrote Annie, but I said Alice.
You said Annie is sleeping.
No, I said Alice.
Okay, we'll check it. Go ahead.
So,
we'll see who's right.
Basically, it comes up that there's a rehash of basically the end of the first movie.
Yeah, like 10 minutes or something. Jeez.
Yeah. So I have an 86-minute movie. You get about, a 10-minute rehash.
Neat padding, I guess.
So, Annie, see, you got me saying Annie now. Alice wakes up, startled from the dream. Like, trying to get herself together. She goes walking out through the house. Her phone rings. It's her mom, apparently.
Yep.
And they're discussing things. And she's like, I don't know how to handle things. And this is the only way I know how or something right now. So basically.
Close enough.
Whatever from what happened in the first one, she's kind of, I guess, isolated herself to an extent.
Well, she lives in town.
Yeah, but I meant like she's not near family or anything from what
she's not living out in the middle of the woods or nothing.
Right, yeah. I mean, she is in town, but doesn't seem like she's really near family or anything. So her and her mom she's bickering with her mom. And she's like, "I will call you tomorrow."
Yeah,
hangs up on her. Spoilers. So she goes, takes a shower.
Oh, yeah.
Real quick, like a 2-second shower.
I guess she wasn't that dirty.
And as she opens the shower curtain, the phone's ringing again. She goes over, picks up the phone, and it's like, "Mom," and nobody's there.
Wonder who it was.
I don't know.
Does the killer know how to use a phone?
I don't know. So she hangs up the phone. She goes into the kitchen. And she's looking at all this different stuff.
Her drawings.
And then all of a sudden, her cat gets thrown in the window. I know that it's supposed to be the cat jumping in to startle her, but you could tell by the way the cat is arched, it was thrown through the window.
Hey, I got no problem with throwing cats.
It's not nice. So she was like, real cute. Do you want something to eat? And she was like making tea and everything. So
I'd have thrown it back out.
She goes and opens the refrigerator, and Mrs. Voorhees' head is in the refrigerator. So naturally, she freaks out. All of a sudden, there's a nice male hand going through her head.
How'd he get in there?
I don't know.
He must be pretty sneaky.
Her kettle starts chirping that the water's ready.
Chirping?
That's what I call it, whistling.
Oh, I call it being annoying and hurting my ears.
Yeah, that her tea's ready. The cat's just kind of looking like, I want something to eat. And a hand goes and takes the kettle and moves it off the burner.
Well, at least she went from making coffee to tea.
Yeah. So, and then we go into our opening credits with everybody. So the next scene is a young couple, Sandra and Jeff.
Yep, cool truck.
Pull up in a truck in whatever little town they're in.
New Jersey.
Yeah, wherever New Jersey.
Wherever New Jersey is. Okay.
They go over to a payphone and call. I have names written down this time, guys. They call Ted.
Ted's cool. He's funny.
Ted's a friend of theirs that they're supposed to be picking up. So they're on the phone, like trying to get directions. And Ted's saying all this weird stuff. And our favorite crazy town person shows
Oh,
up,
he's not crazy. He was right.
Ralph.
How can people be so rude? He
And
was right.
as Ralph says, I tried to warn the others,
He
but they
did.
wouldn't listen.
No, they didn't.
You are doomed if you go out there.
And they are.
Sandra and Jeff kind of look like, okay, whatever. And then he goes back, yeah, sorry, Ted, whatever. Well, all of a sudden, if you look in the background, there's a tow truck coming in
Good timing.
that hooks up their truck and starts towing it. And Sandra's like, oh my God, we're being towed. So they start chasing after the tow truck towing the truck. Tow truck towing the truck, yeah.
That's right.
So they keep, I don't know how far they go, and all of a
They only
sudden.
go like a block or down the road and turn
Yeah,
the
it's not
corner.
real far, but they go up and turn the corner.
A block and a half.
All of a sudden, Ted's standing out front laughing. And here, the tow truck driver and him are, I guess, kind of in on it.
I guess they called Ted on his cell phone?
No, they wouldn't have called Ted on his cell phone.
I know, I'm being silly.
Oh.
Well, how did Ted call them? Where was he at?
He was, I guess, at his house there, because that's where they pick him up at.
Okay.
So anyways, they're like, oh, I knew it was you. Should have known better. Whatever.
Whatever.
So they get in the truck and start driving off to, they're heading, I can't remember the name of the campsite.
Camp Packanack?
Yeah, that's what I always saw. Something like that. I know I see that on one of the buildings there. Like
it's also on the game.
Yes. Awesome game if you haven't played it. Love playing it.
Karen's going to play it on her station here sometime soon.
Eventually, if I can get everything I need to record.
Maybe.
So what it is, they're going to a camp that's kind of like a counselor training camp type deal for summer camp.
They're trained to be counselors.
Yeah.
At the beginning of summer.
Go figure that one out. So as they're going in the truck, they stop because there's a large branch in the road.
Yep.
So Ted and Jeff get out to start pulling the branch off the road.
Sorry.
And Sandra's wandering around and she finds this sign for Crystal Lake or Camp Crystal Lake or something. And Ted's like, oh, that camp's right across the lake from where
Camp Blood.
Where we're at. And he says about Camp Blood. And Sandra's like, can we go explore? And he goes, nope. Ted's like, no, it's out of the question.
I like her. She's adventurous.
So they continue on their way to camp.
Yep.
So then we get to the camp.
Well, you see the killer look at him through the trees.
Oh, I forgot about that.
You see his hand.
Is that what he does?
Well, he pushes stuff out of the way.
And plays with his face.
Maybe.
So we get to the camp. And there's a bell ringing, kind of calling everyone together.
I wonder where he parked that truck.
I don't know. So this is where we kind of meet some of our other characters.
Yep. Another one of my favorite characters is coming up.
Who, Scott?
Hey, he's all right, but the other one.
Mark?
No. Keep going.
Paul?
No. Never mind. Go ahead.
So,
jeez.
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about now.
Who?
Muffin. So they're like just showing all the camp counselors getting together. And then we have our one female camp counselor, Terry, who's wearing like a half cut up Mickey Mouse shirt. And then her shorts are riding up her butt, so her cheeks are sticking out.
She's cool.
All of a sudden, she gets a rock or something hit at her butt.
Shot. I like that shot.
She turns around, and
that's a good pause shot.
One of our other counselors, Scott.
Yeah, he's funny.
If like blatantly, he's like looking at her like, "Yeah, I did that."
He was going chucking ball.
And then we go to Mark, who's another one of our counselors. He's in a wheelchair.
Yep.
And Vicky, who's a friend of Terry's, is like talking to him, trying to like help him out. So everyone kind of gets together and they just kind of start talking. Paul's kind of like the head of this.
The arrogant guy of the place. I am Paul. I am awesome.
Nah, he's not arrogant.
Nah, he's kind of like serious about it.
But he's like kind of the head trainer or whatever.
Kind of, he is.
And Ted's one of his assistants. And then we also have one more assistant who is running late.
She's cool.
So they're kind of talking, and all of a sudden our other and final character shows up, Jenny, who her and Paul have a thing apparently. And she was running late getting there. Well, her and Paul go off, and Paul kind of lectures her.
Her car is sick.
And all that. And then they go back to finishing up their lecture where he discussed about if women are on their period to make sure that they change frequently.
Yuck! I don't need to know that.
So
Yuck.
it goes to later that night. They're all kind of sitting around a campfire, and Paul's kind of telling the story of
Exposition, right?
of what happened
In case you forgot.
with Mrs. Voorhees and Jason and all that. And then Ted jumps out and scares the crap out of everyone.
Yep.
And Paul basically goes, you know, because it was 5 years. This is 5 years after everything, because he says about 5 years ago.
So that will be
Alice,
1985.
Yeah. Alice had
Gotcha.
disappeared. You know, it was 5 years ago. And he basically said, you know, this whole thing with Jason's a myth. It's not real. You know, let's just be serious and do what we need to do.
Be so serious.
So everyone's kind of talking and getting to know each other. Cassandra is pushing Jeff about trying to go see Camp Blood.
Did you say Cassandra?
It's Sandra. I always want to call her Cassandra.
That's okay, but it's not Ca. It's just
so. But she keeps saying about we have to figure out, wouldn't it be a cool story to go tell that we went to Camp Blood? And Jeff's like, I don't know about that, and
I go
and all that. So, Ginny
fun.
eventually goes back to her cabin. And Paul eventually shows up, and they start having a little fun.
How do you sneak in there?
That's one thing. I can never figure out how Paul got into the cabin with Ginny realizing it. See, I'm getting my characters all messed up. Well, it gets worse, because in some of the later ones, they reuse names. But
I guess there's only so many names.
Meanwhile, we go to the outside, and there's Ralph kind of peeping.
He's like, ooh,
and all of a sudden, he hears a noise. Turns around, he gets barbed wire across his neck, and unfortunately, no more Ralph. So we go to the next morning. Paul left
Beware
Ginny
of bears.
A message on the mirror that said, beware of bears.
I get it.
Took me a while to get that.
Gross.
So just keep an eye out for that. So it goes to them. They're going kind of through their training. They're running through the woods and all that. And then later on, they're swimming down by the lake and everything, kind of relaxing.
Chilling out.
Sandra convinces Jeff, let's go explore.
Yeah.
So I mentioned Muffin. This is Terry's dog.
I like Muffin.
She's a Shih Tzu like my Chloe and my Mitzi. That she looks more like Mitzi, I think. Maybe. I don't remember.
I thought she looked like Chloe.
I don't know. I don't remember.
Chloe's dirtier.
Yeah. My little Chloe's a dirtball. Anyways, they're walking through the woods and they see this carcass that looks like a dog.
Nope, it's not a dog.
It looks like it, though. And
I refuse to believe.
And they're like, oh, it looks like a dog. Should we tell Terry? And they're like, oh, I don't know.
No, it wasn't.
Well, they get...
You know what it was?
What?
It was a cat dressed up like a dog.
Oh,
so that's okay.
So they eventually get over into Camp Blood and get busted by the sheriff.
Yeah, the sheriff's pretty quiet, too. They didn't see the car.
No, nothing.
Or hear him walking through the woods.
So the sheriff
people were deaf.
Takes them back. You know, he's with Paul and Ginny. And it's like, you know, you got to keep him out of there. It's unsafe. It's been quiet for 5 years, you know, and they're like, yeah. And he's like, well, the next person to catch trespassing, I'm going to run him into town. So he basically tells Sandra and Jeff to go. Well, then as the sheriff's leaving, he sees somebody run across the road.
See, Jason does run for everybody who says he doesn't.
And he's thinking it's another one of the counselors. The sheriff stops, starts running after him. He's yelling, hey, hey, hey. Eventually finds this like makeshift house.
It's kind of neat. Party shack.
It's literally like pieced together with various things.
Party shack.
So he's kind of going in and looking around. And he gets back to the one room. And he's looking in. And he's like, oh my God. And then he gets a hammer to the back of the head.
Yeah, he gets his hammer time.
So, no more sheriff.
Does Jason move the cop car?
I don't know.
Because how would the others leave?
I don't know.
Maybe he can.
Who knows? So, they go back to the camp, and they're kind of like finishing up eating dinner. And Paul goes, I know today was fun. If you want one last night on the fun night on the town before we get serious, you know, it's basically now or never. And then he says that, our two wanderers have volunteered to stay behind and watch the camp. Well, then Terry decides to stay behind because she can't find Muffin.
That's good.
Scott stays behind because Terry's staying behind.
So would I.
Mark stays behind because he says nobody likes a drunk in a wheelchair.
Nope.
And Vicky has a thing for Mark, so she
Yep.
stays behind. I forgot the name.
They should all went to the bar.
So that group stays behind. All the rest of them, Jenny, Paul, Ted, and all the extras
Yeah,
go
like
to
there's
the
a lot
bar.
of fill-in characters.
They go to the bar, this bar in town. So, it shows some scenes
Isn't that
at
a boat? Yeah, it's a cool boat or something.
No, I thought it was just a bar in the middle
I
of
don't know.
nowhere.
It burned down
Anyways.
after they filmed there.
So, they go to the bar and the other ones are all hanging out. Well, cuts back to, are you fanning me?
No, I'm just doing what you're doing with your hands.
Oh, well, it cuts back to Mark and Jeff are arm wrestling.
Yeah.
And Jeff basically cheats at one point and pulls, so he wins, but he's using two hands. Well, they start, he's like, okay, I'll be good. So they do it right. And then I keep wanting to call her Cassandra now. Sandra leaves on the table. She goes, don't waste all your energy. I got something you can do or whatever.
Sure.
And Jeff's like, okay, well, they go upstairs.
Well, not at first. They go over to the other room.
And then go upstairs. So then it leaves Mark and Vicky, and they're kind of talking, and she says about playing him, and he's like, well, I don't want to arm your SLU. Well, then she brings out two of Ted's video games.
Yeah.
To play.
I don't know what those are, but they're cool.
Old 80s stuff.
Before my time.
And one of them says something about the winner, and Mark's like, well, what does the winner want? And she went position.
What does that mean?
What do you think it means?
I don't know what.
Top or bottom?
Of what? Oh, she wants bottom bunk or top bunk?
No.
Okay.
Naughty stuff.
Oh, bad.
So they cut back over to the bar, and there's Jenny, Paul, and Ted drinking, and Jenny kind of starts going on about Jason with all that. And she's studying his child psychology, so she's like, if he would have seen it, he would have been traumatized, like going on and on about stuff like that.
You.
And basically, once she's done, she goes, well, what do you think? And Paul goes, I think you're drunk. So she gets kind of mad about that. So Paul's like, okay, well, that's it. I'm going to go back. And Jenny's like, well, I'm going to catch a ride with you. And Paul looks at Ted. He goes, everyone back once this place closes up. Well, Ted inquires about any after-hours places. But
it's a good thing.
But I don't know if they do go anywhere or not. So Jenny and Paul leave the bar. Jenny and Paul leave the bar, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm rolling with you.
So
I think some killings are happening before all that, but whatever.
Oh, well, I'm just saying.
Okay, you forgot about the killings.
I'm getting there.
Okay, but you're doing it out of order. Go ahead.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
So
watch the movie if you don't know.
Vicky and Mark. So you got me all confused.
I didn't say their names.
Talk about trying to find a cabin somewhere, and Vicky goes, "Well, tells Mark to wait. I'll be back." So she leaves. And at one point somewhere in here, we cut up to our two upstairs, Sandra and Jeff. They've had a little fun. And Ted had this spear thing he was using earlier to scare him. So Jason eventually goes in the room and gets a 2-for-1. Spears right through Jeff.
I was going to make
Sandra.
a joke, but I don't know if I should.
Then probably not.
I think I should.
I don't know. What is it?
They got a double.
Yeah, they got a double.
Sorry.
So there goes our two friends there. Well, Vicky's out of the cabin, getting freshened up. Mark wheels outside, kind of looking around. He hears a noise, and all of a sudden, he gets a machete to the face and rolls backwards down the stairs.
That part's funny, though.
It's inventive. It's a different type of kill.
Funny.
So Vicky gets done freshening up. She comes back. Mark's nowhere to be found. It's raining at this point. She's looking for Mark. Well, then she goes upstairs looking for Jeff and Sandra. She goes over to the bed, and our friend Tater Sack Man shows up.
Tater Sack Man.
Yeah.
It's Tater Sack Man.
So Jason is wearing a potato sack in this one with just the one eye cut out.
I always thought it was a pillowcase, but okay.
Either or, does not have his mask yet, basically.
Oh yeah. Spoilers in case you haven't seen the other one.
Yeah.
See, Jason wears a hockey mask usually. Okay, go ahead.
So, I forgot who it was. Vicky is kind of like, oh, I forgot about how Terry and Scott get killed.
Yes, that's what I was trying to tell you. And you said, I know what I'm doing. So I just said it.
Anyways.
Like, okay.
Jason comes, Vicky backs up, runs into Jeff, who's hanging off the wall dead and gets stabbed.
Yep.
But I forgot to mention earlier.
You forgot to mention one of the most important scenes.
Yeah.
I like that scene.
Terry
It's a good
leaves
pause scene.
to go
Or slow-mo.
look for Muffin. Then she decides to go for a swim.
Yeah.
Buck naked.
That's fine with me.
And of course, Scott is lurking. So Scott takes all her clothes, and when she comes out of the water,
Hey, so would I.
he's, hey, you want these, and just throwing various things at her. Well, she's chasing him, and he's running. He gets snared.
He gets what?
Snarled. Snared in a rope trap and hanging upside down. And he was like, they were thinking it was Paul that did the trap.
Maybe it was.
So Terry goes, I'll cut you down. I'll be right back. So she leaves. Well, all of a sudden somebody else shows up with a machete and slits Scott's neck. So Terry finds the knife she's looking for, comes back to try to cut Scott down, and Scott's already dead. She turns around and screams.
And she gets killed by the cameraman.
Yeah.
Ah! And then they go to the bar scene.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, it's all good.
Long day of work, guys, and it's Monday.
All right, now we're back.
So anyways, we're back. We're caught back up. So Paul and Ginny show back up at the camp.
You are correct.
And they're like, why are all the lights on and all this? And Jenny's like, they wouldn't do this. And
how does she know?
Paul makes a comment that they smoke better weed than he does. So
good.
Ginny goes upstairs, finds the bed bloody. And they're like, okay, what's going on? We need to find. So they go walking back downstairs, and the one room is dark. And Paul's looking around, and Ginny's like, Paul, somebody is in this room. And Paul's like, what? And he's like, then she's like, Paul, somebody is in this effing room. And Jason shows up. He's like hiding in the corner in the dark, and him and Paul start to shuffle. They're shuffle.
They're playing shuffleboard.
Yeah. Start to scuffle. Paul, I guess, gets knocked out or something.
He's kind of a wimp.
Yeah. And then Jason starts going after Ginny. Ginny tries to escape. She has like a little VW bug with like I wouldn't say canvas type roof, like a leather roof. It's not like a solid roof.
I don't know what those are called.
And Jason starts, is it a pitchfork or his knife that he sticks through there on her?
I think he's using the pitchfork
first.
Then it
trying
breaks.
to reach her, and then, they're chasing each other. And of course, I'd be running and screaming. Not Ginny. Ginny hides at one point.
What is the point of screaming? You'll make you out of breath.
Well, okay, yeah, this is true. But I probably would have been running. Ginny at one point stops off in a bush, waits for Jason to come around the corner, and knees him in the nuts.
Well, hey, why not?
But meanwhile, I'm like, I wouldn't be doing this. So Ginny keeps running.
I'm a girl, I scream.
She eventually finds Jason's little shack in the woods. So she's screaming, somebody help me, somebody help me. She goes in, eventually finds this back room.
Oh, okay. All right.
What?
I was going to say about the part where she gets him with the chainsaw.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, she tries to get him with the chainsaw. It doesn't work.
Yeah. Watch the movie.
She hides under the bed and pees herself. Watch the movie.
Well, that's
so anyway, she shows up at the cabin where Jason's at.
Yep.
She goes to the back room. There on a table is Mrs. Voorhees' head with her sweater, surrounded by candles. We also find what we believe to be Alice's body in there.
Yeah, pretty much decomposed. Through the head.
Terry's body and the sheriff's body.
Yep.
So all of a sudden, Ginny sees Jason coming, so she tries to barricade herself in, and she's trying to figure out what to do, and she gets this idea to play Mrs. Voorhees.
Would that work, really?
I don't know. So she puts the sweater on, and here the machete sitting there. So Jason comes in, and she starts saying stuff, and Jason's kind of looking like, what? And basically, then he starts hallucinating that he is seeing his mother saying what Ginny is saying. So eventually he comes up close enough to her. She tells him to kneel down, that she has a reward for him. So Ginny brings the machete back to try to get him. Well, she moves enough that Jason sees Mrs. Voorhees' head. So he brings his pitchfork up. He has, not pitchfork, pickaxe. Pitchfork, pickaxe.
There's a difference.
There is a difference. And Ginny ends up hitting the machete off the pickaxe and losing the machete. And then Jason brings the pickaxe pickaxe down on her leg and cuts her leg open. Well, then Paul shows up.
Yeah, thanks for showing up, you idiot. Helping
Which
me.
I don't know how he even found where she was at.
Maybe she heard her scream or him
Maybe.
doing something.
So they start fighting again. Paul's basically getting his butt whooped. Jason's bringing back the pickaxe to take him out. Jenny comes up behind him with the machete and cuts him through the shoulder.
In slow-mo.
And he falls over. So Paul and Jenny leave the cabin. Jenny's hurt, so Paul's like basically carrying her. They get back to her cabin, and they're kind of like, he's consoling her because she's like, oh my God, you know.
Sorry,
crying
I'm so useless.
and all that. Well, all of a sudden they hear a noise at the door. And they both kind of look at each other. So the broken pitchfork's in the room.
Yep.
So Paul gives Jenny the pitchfork end, and he takes the wooden end.
Because he was standing on a chair and it broke.
Yeah.
You forgot to include that. So
yeah, I
I'm
forgot.
telling everybody why it is a pitchfork in the room.
Anyways, so Paul gets positioned to open the door, and Jenny nods that she's ready. They open the door, and it's Muffin.
Yay!
So Muffin comes trotting in, all happy, like, hey, what's up? So as
Muffin's cool.
Muffin's coming to Jenny, Jason jumps through the window and grabs Jenny, pulls her out the window.
No, he doesn't. Did she pull her out the window?
I thought he pulled her out the window. Anyways, Jason comes through the window.
That he does.
Next scene is Jenny on a ambulance bed, caught.
I follow.
And she's asking, where's Paul? Where's Paul? As they're loading her up in the ambulance.
Well, he kind of is useless, so maybe he's still hanging out back there.
Honestly, did Paul live or die? We don't know.
Well, if you listen to the body count in part 3 at the beginning, you can figure it out.
We'll have to do part 3 sometime. But that's Friday the 13th, part 2.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Part
How
2.
did he take the, what was her name, the one you kept confusing? Alice.
Did
he like drag her body back to his shack?
I don't know. That's what I mean. It's all these kind of like what
picked her up over his shoulder and carried her through town, and everybody's like, "Okay, that's cool.
That's cool.
Move along.
No problem." So who knows? There's a lot of what ifs.
Exactly. You just gotta roll with it.
Yep.
And have fun with it, like I did.
If you
don't overthink it.
If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out.
Yes.
If you have seen it, you need to watch it again.
Yep. I've seen it plenty of times.
So I mean, this is probably actually my favorite Friday the 13th.
Probably mine too.
So, because I mean, I like Jenny a lot in this one.
She's my favorite, last girl, whatever you want to call her.
Yeah, last girl standing.
Yep.
So, that is it for Friday the 13th, part 2. Like I said, we're going to be...
Cool.
It's, at the rate we're going, we're going to be doing them all, so...
Well, not all, because I kind of cut it off at a certain point.
Yeah, well, you don't believe in certain ones, but if anything, I'll do them myself.
Okay.
So, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell icon so you know when we post new content.
Yep.
Share the page. It would be greatly appreciated.
Sure would.
If there's something out there you want us to review, let us know.
I know something.
What?
I ain't going to say it.
Oh, you're not going to say it? What?
Nothing. I said,
I have no clue what he's saying. We'll
Okay,
see you guys in the next review. Bye.
Bye.